Dr. David Bull's Sunday Surgery.
So I thought this was a really interesting topic and we should talk about it, which is monkeypox as I knew it. It's now called Mpox, apparently. It's changed its name. And joining me now, I'm delighted to say, Dr. Bharat Pankania, who's an infectious disease management expert. Good morning to you, Bharat.
Hello, good morning to you, David.
Also, Bharat, it's Kiss and Make Up Day. Do you remember maybe a year and a half ago we had quite a feisty conversation about the COVID vaccine?
No, I have no recollection.
OK, fair enough.
We never fell out. I have no recollection.
Good. Now, can we... So I thought we should talk about this because obviously we're seeing a rapid spread of what used to be called monkeypox. This is now apparently been renamed Mpox in Africa. It's been named a global emergency. Lots of questions I have for you here, but for viewers and listeners to this programme, can you just explain what Mpox is?
So Mpox is an infection caused by a virus, and the reason why it's called Mpox and not monkeypox is we used to think that the reservoir are monkeys, and you get it transmitted from monkeys to humans and then humans to humans. But actually, more so, it's rodents. So little small animals, rat-like creatures, and they are probably the bigger reservoir. And, you know, the reason why we are getting more and more of these things, Ebola, Mpox, etc., is man's incursion into animal territory. You enter into the forests and things, you handle these creatures, you eat them, you keep them captive, then they give you a disease, and then you take that disease to other humans. So it's a viral zoonotic, which then becomes human communicable disease.
So let's say someone gets Mpox, and if you are with that person, how do you get human-to-human transmission?
So with respect to Mpox, the mode of transmission is close bodily contact. So people would have these vesicles all over, this little pearly-like things, a little bit like chickenpox, but a lot more pussy, a lot more fluid-filled, and they are filled with viruses. So if you can imagine you are in close bodily skin-to-skin contact with an infectious case, that's the prime way of transmitting Mpox. Also, you know, when a person is really ill and you are in close proximity in the same room, you may also get it from their breath. So it is mostly skin to skin, but you can get it through droplets from their mouth.
And in terms of symptoms, you mentioned they're being very unwell. Obviously, a fever would be one of those cardinal symptoms, a high temperature. Also, other symptoms, for example, muscle aches, general lethargy.
Yes, so you get the flu-like symptoms to begin with: fever, headache, back pain, muscle aches, and then this rash appears, and this rash is generalized. Palms of your hand, soles of your feet, face, trunk, all over the body, and they are little vesicles filled with fluid and filled with a lot of viruses. And if you think about it, David, if your skin is exhibiting all these little pus-filled sacs, then your insides are also pretty troubled, and they also will be full of similar blisters, which of course we wouldn't see.
So in terms of where we are, the World Health Organization has declared this a public health emergency. So obviously we're talking about in other countries. We are seeing it in this country, and we are starting to immunise certain key groups in this country, aren't we?
Yes, you would, and we've always had this, what you would call emergency preparedness and resilience. So people who would be handling either the virus particles, or being infectious disease doctors or healthcare workers would already have their vaccine or be also targeted for this vaccine. It's a 2-dose vaccine separated by 4 weeks, and we mustn't use these vaccines willy-nilly because, of course, they are in short supply.
So healthcare workers, you mentioned there, also gay men, bisexual men, or men who have sex with other men, also immunised, aren't they?
Well, they were certainly offered this vaccine during that West African outbreak, and we managed to bring that pretty much under control very quickly. Now, to distinguish this from the Democratic Republic of Congo, the strain, the clade, the branch, whichever expression you want to use, is different for the DCR compared to the West African clade that we had in 2022.
And this clade 1A, is this more infectious?
Yes, so it's clade 1B and also 1A, and exactly so, David. It's also more infectious and unfortunately also more disease causing. And also there is the evidence. It's there in 16 or more African countries, and also now we've got it in other parts of the world.
So obviously you talked about African countries there. Is there a real risk that this could spread more globally?
Oh, absolutely. What happens in Africa will happen in other parts of the world. And this is why I always say prevention is better. So if we were to, we are a G7 nation and the WHO has declared it a public health emergency. So you send in all those vaccines, control measures, logistics, etc. And hopefully you control and contain it in Africa. Otherwise, when you have outbreaks in the United Kingdom, for example, it's a lot more expensive and it hurts us more financially to control something that we could have done better if we had assisted the Africans to contain and control it in their continent.
Is there any evidence at the moment of spread in G7 countries?
Well, we've had a case in Europe. So we've had a case in Sweden, although it's not a G7 nation. So, it's not far away from us. And we've also had a case in the Philippines and Pakistan, I understand. So, we will get, without a doubt, we will get cases in other parts of the world. People move around a lot.
So in terms of the vaccination, there isn't a vaccine per se, is there? It's the smallpox vaccine which is reused. Correct,
yes. So there are two vaccines, but the one that we use more so, it's a 2-dose one, and it is a vaccinia vaccine, as you correctly said, David. It was used against smallpox, which we successfully eliminated via the vaccines. So, and Denmark, salute to Denmark. It has given the African nations the formula to make this vaccine in Africa and deploy it in Africa. And that's what I would call good cooperation. Denmark is doing a good thing by saying, here, this is how you make it, go ahead and make it.
And so in terms of ramping up the production of the vaccine, is that happening?
Yes, it is. Yes, indeed. So, and also doses of the vaccines are being delivered via the World Health Organization. And then there is Gavi, G-A-V-I. That's a good organization which delivers vaccines whenever there are such outbreaks and incidents.
Absolutely fascinating and beautifully explained. Thank you very much indeed for joining me. That's Dr. Bharat Pankhania, who's an infectious disease management expert. Everything you need to know there about Mpox, as no longer called monkeypox. And we heard why, because the reservoir isn't monkeys. There you are.